Hi everybody, so this is a 1920s look that I completed with Senegen's products. It's very era appropriate. I was planning on doing modern 20s, but I wound up doing more of actual 20s, but this is all Senegen's, and I feel that it is a fairly easy look to complete, and all you need is a flapper dress and you are good to go. So keep on watching if you want to know how to do this look. So I already started with my moisturizer, my primer, and my concealer. I needed concealer. I had some blemishes. You don't have to have concealer for this look, but I needed it. So the next thing I'm going to do, because I do not have like a super light foundation, I'm going to mix my foundation, which I use, with our white concealer. You don't have to do this. You can just use a lighter foundation because in the 20s, they're really pale. So we're gonna just get as pale as we possibly can with this. So what I'm gonna do is take like one pump of mine, and this is in the shade Almond. It's the lighter color for me, especially for the winter time. I get really pale, so that's good for me. But then, because it's not pale enough for this era, I'm going to add white concealer. Maybe you can see I added a pretty good amount in there. And I'm going to just take the back of my brush and mix it together to create this, so hopefully lighter shade. It's not the end of the world if I'm not super pale, but I want the full coverage, so I'm going to use what I have. But if you have a lighter foundation, use that one. And then just going to put it on my face. Just kind of using that. And then what I do is I take this brush, which is a stippling brush from Morphe, and I'm just kind of patting it all the way in, all the way over. And as you can see, it's not completely blended. I just like putting it on my face with this brush, and then you'll see I use a beauty blender to completely blend it in my skin. You can tell this is lightening up my face a lot. But they had really pale skin, and we want our skin to be pale too. Make sure you get it all the way down your neck because you don't want your face and your neck a different color. Alright, so now we're going to take a damp beauty blender. It's a sponge, basically. So if you don't have a beauty blender, get a sponge and dampen it. You don't want it wet, you want it damp so it doesn't absorb the product. And so I'm just going to pat all of this in so it's blended all the way. So now that we have our super pale face, we're going to go with our eyes and our eyebrows. So they like to have super dark eyebrows. So we're gonna use black shadow for that because we want it to be as close to this era as possible. I'm probably gonna do more modern 20s, but they like to have like sad eyes. So they would have kind of like this, and then really droopy and sad. I'm going to try to mix it between the two, but more modern. So what I'm going to do is brush out my brows. Okay, so this is our Onyx. And I'm going to be using this for my brows. And it comes in like the Lip Sense. It has the applicator just like the Lip Sense. And so what I like to do is take the applicator, but I don't use that directly on my brows. I use an angled brush. This one is by Morphe. It's not the one I usually use, but it's going to work perfectly fine. And I'm going to do my brows. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing. Let's do our brows. So I'm going to take some of the color right here, right off of the wand with my brush. And then we're going to start doing our brows. And I'm going to make the end a little bit longer than I normally would because that's the 20s style. We want it, that is what they did. So if you want to keep it more modern, just do it to the length of your brow. And their brows were super thin. Do you remember like the 2000s brows? They were about that. But I don't want my brows that thin, so I'm going to thicken them up just a little bit. But for the most part, they're going to be 20s brows. That is a 20s brow, guys. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, there's our crazy, over dramatically long, sad eyebrows. Now we are going to do the shadow. That is also something that I like to do very dark and dramatic. I like to put, we're gonna call it a primer on my lids. It's actually just our Shadow Sense. It's the color Candlelight. There you go. Okay, so that's what I like to put directly onto my lids as a base. Because our shadows don't crease or budge, it's perfect to use as a base. And I like to just apply that directly with the wand, and then I'm going to blend it in with a brush. So with the shadows, the Shadow Sense, you don't need a base, you don't need a primer. I just like having an even color to start with, so I use this as my primer. And I'm going to use a brush that doesn't have makeup all over it to blend it out. This isn't typically the brush that I would use, but it's just one that I grabbed. So it doesn't look like this. I just use any brush to just even out the shadow above my eye. It's just gonna kind of even it, you know, the color of your lid. So I have some like pinkish purple veins, and it hides that color for me. And that's just priming them, but you don't need to do that. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my gray shadow, which is Granite. So this is my gray color, and I'm going to actually use this as transition. Normally we would use a lighter color, but because this is kind of modernizing this a little bit, but we usually use like a brownish color, but we're gonna put gray and go for it. So what I do with the Shadow Sense, since it's a cream to powder, is I just put 2 little dots because you really don't need a lot. Well, they're not really dots, they're whatever you want to call them. And then I will take this, my favorite brush. This is a Luxie brush, which is kind of like a blending brush. And then I'm going to blend it out above my eye. Kind of right at the bone, the crease right here. You want to make sure that that's blending right there. It's okay if it gets on your lid. We're going to be putting dark on there anyway. And then we're going to take Onyx, which is our black. So for this one, I'm actually going to use my hand as my palette so that I don't put too much of this on my eyes. So I'm just going to take it and just splotch it on there, just so that I have some in there. We're going to start with this brush right here. This is a Morphe brush. We're going to start with this one. I'm going to take a little bit of product, and I'm going to start on the outside. We're just going to put a little bit out here, and then we're going to put a little bit on the inside. Kind of make sort of a halo around your eye. It looks like crap right now. We haven't blended yet, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other side before I blend. We want to make sure that it is a very bold eye. I look like a skunk or a raccoon right now, but that's okay because we're going to take this brush right here and we're going to blend it. And it's kind of like smudging it to make it more even and don't have any harsh lines, because we don't like those harsh lines. But in the 20s, it didn't matter as much. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And I'm also blending it As you can see, I'm blending it over, across. So I'm leaving like this area right here for something else. So now that we have some major dark eyes going on, we're going to add a little bit of silver shimmer in there. This is kind of modernizing it just a tiny bit, but it's still a 20s look. Silver shimmer shadow sense. We're going to use that. And we're going to put that in the middle where we left off. And I'm just going to apply it directly on with the wand, and then we will blend a little bit. And why I say a little bit with this color in particular, well, the shimmers don't need to be blended as much because they actually blend, I don't want to say away, but they don't shimmer as much if you blend like crazy. So I'm going to take this brush right here, you can see, and then I'm just going to pat it. I'm not going to like brush, I'm going to pat so that it just blends, but it's patted so the shimmer stays. So now we're going to do underneath of our eye, and I still have product on my hand right here, so I'm going to go ahead and use that same brush that I used originally, and I'm going to put that underneath of my eye and blend it, but I'm going to use just a little bit of product at a time because this is a dark color and it's a cream color, so it's heavily pigmented. But we want dark all the way under our eyes, like dark. Yes, I look like a raccoon, but we're gonna fix it. I'm just use the same brush and blend it out a little bit. And I'm taking what's left on the brush and kind of bringing it up top and across. It's not necessary, but I kind of feel like the whole dark eye in the 20s. We will need to add more up top. So I'm going to take as well and use the Onyx again, the dark, which is already on my hand. I'm going to take an angle brush, actually the same angle brush that I did with my eyebrows. I'm going to use that underneath my eyes and add it into the waterline so that it cleans up this little mess going on here. I'm going to have to do this so run this mirror. So you can see. So I'm going to blend out the bottom a little bit more so it's not so harsh. Bringing it up and just kind of covering back what we already have done on our face. All right, so this I'm going to actually add a little bit more of the silver. And I'm using this wand. And I'm going to put it kind of a little bit in the corner here. You see how it kind of lightens it up? But we're going to blend it. We're not going to leave it like that. I'm going to take this small brush right here. And I'm patting it. Not brushing. I'm patting because it's a shimmer. Okay, girls. So our 20s look. Now I'm going to take our lash sense and I'm just going to coat it on my lashes right now. And then we're going to move on to our cheeks. This is just black lash sense. You can curl your eyelashes. I normally do, but I did not bring it with me, so I'm not going to curl it. But you want to make your lashes dramatic, or as dramatic as you can. So I'm just using regular black lash sense. So for the cheeks, they like very pink, very dramatic cheeks. That was the look in the 20s. So what I have is this super, super pink blush sense, which is like our cream blush. And it is a very pink color. You don't need a lot because a little goes a long way. But because in the 20s they really like pink cheeks, I'm gonna put some on my hand and we're just gonna build because I'm not sure how much I'm gonna put on yet. So I just put like a little dot right here on my hand. And I'm gonna take this brush right here. It's a Morphe brush. I'll use my ring finger and put some on my cheek right there. Do you see how like pink this is? All right, so now that we have our cheeks and our eyes done, we are going to do our lips. So, bright red lips were very, very much in style in the 20s. So we're going to go with bright lips, bright red lips. And I should mention also that with the lips in the 20s, they don't cover their whole lips. They focus on the inner part of their lips. So you don't want to go all the way across. You want to kind of stop right here. I'll show you what I mean by that. And we're going to apply Lip Sense. If you want to see the proper way to apply Lip Sense, I'll put the link application of how to do that below so that you can see how to apply it normally. But I'm going to just go through putting on all 3 layers without explaining it so that I can just show you how to put it on like in the 20s. You see, now I'm gonna do the outside and make it much more dramatic. Okay, so this is layer 1, and I'm gonna go ahead and go through the motions of doing the other layers exactly the same way.
Your hand, madame, and pray my dreams come
true. So for the top and the bottom, I went a lot higher up than my normal Let's Go and a lot lower down than my normal Let's Go, which you can see that I did not put it all the way across. So you want to make them like skinny and more pouty. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the gloss on. And that's going to be our 20s look. So I'm going to go ahead and get my headband and put that in and complete the look. Okay, so this is what this headband, I just got this at Michael's and it was like $5, I think. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it across right here. And I'm going to take my hair and just kind of tuck it in around. And I'm going to do that like the whole way around. So you're able to see. Just tucking it into the actual band. I'm just going to go ahead and do that the entire way around, and this is like seriously a 20s look. This is how they did their hair. I'm going to leave one little piece out because I feel like that's 20s too. So as you can see, some of it's going to fall out. You just keep going until you get it stuck, you know, into the headband. And if you need to use some bobby pins, that's perfectly fine. But this is totally like a 20s look, so it's okay. Nobody's hair is perfect in the 20s. Okay, so just put on your flapper dress and you have your 20s makeup. And this is what you're going to get. Just make sure you have super bold eyes. You want super bold. They do bold on the top and the bottom. Super rosy cheeks and bright red lips. I forgot to mention that my lips are Fly Girl. This is the color that I used for this look today. But you can use, we also have blue red, and you can also use like darker colors as well, like a burgundy or like a mulled wine, like that kind of color. So I wound up doing more of a 20s rather than modern 20s, but this is what it looks like. So if you have questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.